Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we are beginning the Tree Advisory Committee meeting on September 12th, 2024 at 4:04. Call to order. First item is to approve minutes from our last meeting, which was July 18th. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Sure. Was Craig, I thought Craig was remote last time, but maybe I missed it. Craig. Was he here remotely?
Remote. He wasn't here in person.
But he was here remotely and he's listed as absent.
Oh, I think he was absent.
He was?
I think he might have been absent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't remember.
I don't think he was here. I don't think so. What did it say? It says absent. Yeah.
Okay.
Good to check.
I know it says absent, but okay.
Yeah. That's correct.
So he really was.
I remember thinking about it, yeah.
Okay, okay.
All right, any other comments or edits recommended?
No.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes from July 18th.
Second it.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, the minutes are approved. All right, public appearances for non-agenda items. None. And we'll go on to look at the agenda for today. Are there any discussion or recommendations for a sequence change? Okay.
Somebody move. I move that we approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Agenda for today has been approved. All right. First item is a resolution R13524. Approving the grant application and requirements for the 2024 Urban Forestry Grant, which we were able to review the content of last time.
And I fixed it, so that's why you're seeing it again, because it had some errors the last time, which you guys were so nice to point out. So I fixed it, then I went to Park Commission. It's already been through council. So Nicole's already,
I think we voted on it.
You did. So council's already approved it. So this is, you don't really have to vote on this because you already did. But I just wanted to show you that it got fixed and it got approved. Because it had some, I think it was a pretty serious error that I had in it. So anyway, so this is kind of an FYI, and I just wanted to, in the record, have you guys see the actual official without the errors. Because I think what I had omitted in here, which is very important, is that the resolution is required for the grant. And so that's why, and that's kind of a big deal, because it is. So I fixed that in this resolution, so you guys have the, you can see the fixed copy that's been through council, but you don't really have to take any action on it. It's just more of a thank you for pointing out the error, and here it is, fixed and good. And I will apply for this grant tomorrow because council did go ahead and approve it, which is great.
Okay. Does anybody want to hear it? Because the intention wasn't to be in the packet, and then it just kind of got mixed up.
I think because council approved it on base, then takes it out of the packet.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Because it was in the packet originally, but then since
Well, that's kind of rude.
Well, that's how I think that's how on base works.
I mean, it's in public record.
Yes,
somewhere approved.
It's interesting because it's not. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it on the resolution number or name. So I don't know where to
It's
look.
in last night's, it's in the Tuesday night packet. It's
Correct.
page 381.
She knows. That was awesome.
Because I looked it up to make sure it was there. It's page 381 on last night's packet, and I was watching and they did approve it. And Scott did a nice job of talking about it.
All right. Well, that's good that it's approved. Again, does anyone want us to read it the way it is now?
It's not necessary.
Okay.
Okay,
So it's already part of public record,
you.
but maybe what we could do is, maybe we could just send a copy to the committee.
I can do that. The corrected copy, yes.
Of everything that had been removed from the packet by some other means.
I can do that.
Okay.
And so, anyway, I'm very excited to apply for this grant. I hope that we get it. So, we'll see.
Do you know when do we find out?
Well, the applications are due October 1, and we should find out by December. So, I would hope that, because it's supposed to start in January, so I would hope they'd let us know. So, anyway.
That's great. Can I ask you, how long does it take for you? I mean, I'm sure every grant application is different, but I just wanted, if you could give us some ballpark idea of how long it takes you to
Put them together.
to put it together, and then after that, it's when you get it, it's implementation too. But
That's a good question. So it depends on the grant, right? So like last year we got that Million Trees grant, which was great. And it required us to have the volunteers plant the trees, which was awesome, which you were part of. So, and then we had to record all of those volunteer hours, and the reporting took some time because we had to report, and it had to be on public property, so we had to report who planted the trees and where they ended up, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but we had to provide maps, which it wasn't that big of a deal, but just to get that all squared away and get that together and then get that sent to them is, it's probably 10 hours worth of work, which isn't a huge deal, and it's definitely worth it. But it's
definitely worth it. I bring it up because I'm hoping, as I look at the city forester's role in what's on record in our ordinances, it doesn't include necessarily that, which is absolutely essential. I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
So I think it's really good to be able to document that.
That's a good point, Linda.
So it seems like it should be included in an updated job description of what you do as well.
That's a good point.
10 hours is a lot.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's worth it. It saves thousands and thousands of dollars for the city. It supplements the city budget for trees.
It also is a PR move, right? Because now we're on the Million Trees project, and Alliant Energy can claim our stuff. And since we're so close to everyone's headquarters, because we're just south of Madison, it's really easy for them to stop in and be like, these trees were planted with our grant money. Let's take a bunch of pictures, which happens. Yeah. So, which is kind of nice. So it's good. I mean, it's good all around. It's worth it. But you're right. It does take time and effort. So. And we're looking.
And I think it's just an update in, in what City Forester does.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it supplements the budget. It also directly supplements the budget in terms of tree supplies, but then then organizing volunteers, keeping that networking, all of that adds to our city.
Yeah.
Substantially.
Yeah, because all these projects end up being, co-projects with DNR and with neighborhood associations, and it's not just, it's not just us. So that is an excellent point that I didn't really think about. So.
Okay. Any other discussion on this agenda item? Okay, and then the second agenda item is a second resolution that it sounds like the
council did approve it, but when you guys saw the EAB management plan, which you guys did approve, which I appreciate, I didn't realize we had to have a resolution, so I wrote that after, I put it together after our meeting, so it went to Parks Commission, it went to council, and they both approved it, but you guys haven't got to see it. So I have paper copies here, and we can read it because it got taken out of the agenda or the packet, I think, because council approves it. Once that happens, I think I think the software takes that kind of stuff out. So I can read it if folks want to, if you want to hear it. And then it would be great if you guys would vote on it, just to have on record that you did approve it or not, just because, even though it's a little bit out of order, just because I should have done that. I should have done that when you guys approved the plan, but I didn't. I just didn't realize we needed a resolution. So if you want to hear me read, I can do that.
I would. Go for it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So this is the resolution R14724 approving Emerald Ash Borer EAB Management Plan update in 2024. Whereas, in response to the detection of EAB in Michigan in 2002, the City of Fitchburg Common Council adopted an EAB Readiness and Response Plan in 2010, and EAB infestation was confirmed in the City of Fitchburg on May 18th of 2017. As a result, the Common Council adopted and updated the City of Fitchburg EAB Management Plan in March of 2018, and whereas the purpose of the 2024 Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan update is to minimize the ecological, economic, and aesthetic impact of the emerald ash borer on the urban forest in the City of Fitchburg, this plan provides a management strategy for all publicly owned ash trees in the municipality, and whereas as of August 2024, the number of ash trees in the urban service area is approximately 299 ash trees on public streets, approximately 11 ash trees in parks. The total number of all ash species on streets and parks is of all tree species, let me try that again. The total number of trees of all species on streets and parks is approximately 14,177, and whereas the goal of the treatment program is to allow the removal and replacement of ash trees to be spread out over a period of 10 or more years. Currently, there is an annual budget of $5,000 to treat ash trees, and whereas to ensure treating ash trees is a good investment, the urban forester and the Parks and Recreation and Forestry assistant inspect each ash tree scheduled for treatment for structural and vascular integrity. Any ash trees that have structural or vascular defects are scheduled for removal and replacement. Whereas upon adoption by the City of Fitchburg Common Council, the EAB Management Plan will be posted on the City of Fitchburg website. Any updates to the plan will be presented to the Tree Advisory Committee and the Park Commission. Now let it be resolved by the City of Fitchburg Common Council that it approves the Emerald Ash Borer EAB Management Plan for 2014. And that got adopted on the 10th of September. So this has already been through council. They already said yes, but you guys didn't even know this existed because I didn't write it till after our last meeting because I didn't realize we needed it. So at any rate, so excuse my not knowing, and thank you for humoring my disjointed reading here. And if anyone has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Why is the resolution considered important?
You know, I think it is actually really important. I'm not really sure. That's kind of how city government works.
I think it's because it's through resolutions that policies get made.
Yes. Okay.
And so if it's just, if it's not considered in a resolution, like there's nothing for us to vote on.
Okay.
And so that's, I think it's also like if it changes in some strategic plan and if it changes in the budget, we need a resolution. I'm not sure why this one specifically needed a resolution other than if we ask council to approve something, it's normally in the form of a resolution.
That makes sense. And then the plan is attached to the resolution, I guess. So I kind of skipped the resolution step and just wrote the plan. So, and then later was told, hey, you need a resolution for that. And I'm like, oh, so I need a resolution. So at any rate, and now moving forward, I will know better.
I've seen them more in relation to like promotions, like from the governor and stuff, promoting Breastfeeding Awareness Month or things like that, so I've seen them more that way. I hadn't seen them like this quite as much.
Everything we vote on, like buying a new car or approving our agreement with Pelletary, they're all in resolutions.
Oh, well.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, okay.
Or ordinances. There is an ordinance.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's the mechanism to get things in front of council.
Just weird language.
Well, then ultimately, for it to be policy or
It should just be policy.
in some cases, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of sense, yeah.
And I guess I'm too low on the totem pole to kind of like always put these things together until someone says, hey, where's your resolution?
I mean, you got it to the board table, and I think it was very clear. The only clarification that I made while we were at council is there was talk of like, oh, so do we think if we have these treatments, we'll save the ash trees? And there was a comment of like, yeah, I think we can. And I was like, so what I've learned is no, we cannot. And I said, if you want to hear something sad, go look more into emerald ash borer. And I said, but if you want to be encouraged, look at the work that Anna and her team are doing, because they're doing a great job trying to be planful, trying to make sure that we keep trees alive at a good pace to not ruin canopies all at once, and to make sure to plan for their removal. And Scott jumped in and added and to plan for removal in a way that city staff can accommodate. So that was the only real clarification. I think it was we can save the trees, and I was like, No, and that's important to clarify for people who have it on their private property.
It's
'cause
very
we talked
important.
about
I'm
that.
happy you were there to clarify that because that.
You all
comes up a lot.
educated me last meeting, so I observed it, yeah.
That's really good. All right, well, let's make a motion to approve it even though it's, it follows up approval, but I think it's important that we all know how to do that. So are you all right with that?
Sure.
Okay.
I move we approve the resolution for Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. So
All right. Yeah, and I think it was really good to update those numbers because it's astonishing how much work we've done on ash in the last 6-7 years or whatever it's been. It's quite significant. So anyway. All right.
And then the huge number of plantings is just, which goes back to grants and everything else that, and the diversity, the urban diversity.
That was the last point that was really cool that was brought up at the council table is that someone was like, well, how do we stop from the next emerald ash borer? And it's like, well, short of having a crystal ball, right, to tell, that's why our forester is recommending this diversity of trees so that if something isn't, is affected, it's not like all of our trees. And Scott did a pretty good job of representing that.
Yeah, we really do work on diversity, and and sometimes I pick a loser, but we start with pretty low numbers, but we do. I mean, we really are working on it, and you can see from our inventory, it keeps getting more and more diverse, which is awesome. And I know there was a question at council like, oh, how do we know what's being planted? We have our urban tree guide on the website that lists everything that we're planting and where they go and why and all the considerations, so anyone can look at that.
Is that the title of it, Urban Tree Guide?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we did that, we said Urban Tree Guide because we didn't really, it used to say like Planting Guide or something, but it's like, well, it's more than that because you might actually want a shrub, not a tree, and it kind of goes through some of those different considerations. So, so anyway, it's kind of an interesting, and I actually need to update it because we're planting a few additional things this fall. But we'll talk about that.
Okay. Is there a link to that on the city forestry site too? Okay, great. We're looking over that again before our meeting. That's just full of
I need to add this to it. Yeah. At any rate, so.
All right. Okay. Great. All right. Next item agenda is the Alliant Energy Million Trees Grant application.
Yes.
And yes.
Yeah. Do you guys want me to talk about it? Okay.
Yes.
I put the stuff in your packet. So this is another Million Trees grant, which we're applying through the Alliant Energy. The reason we're eligible is because we have Alliant Energy customers in our municipality. And I guess they have this pledge to plant 1 million trees by, I think it's 2025 or something. It's pretty soon. So anyway, so they'll give us, so hopefully it's a fairly straightforward grant. They'll give us, again, the money to plant trees. They have to be container trees or bare root trees. They have to be planted by volunteers. They have to be on public property, which is no problem. Last year we did, I want to say 60-something trees and for Arbor Day/Earth Day. And that was a combination of Million Trees, grant trees, donated trees, and trees we had in our nursery in McGaw. And many of you helped with that, which was awesome. So we put a bunch of trees in McGaw, we put a bunch of trees in Chicory Meadow, a bunch of trees in Rose Commons, and Southdale. So this year the grant is for, to continue the Chicory Meadows project, to do some more in Southdale, and I think some that you requested, Sue, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. I can't remember. I should have had all, anyway. And it's somewhat flexible too, as long as it's public property and planted by volunteers and specific, they have a few other parameters. But
why do you think they had the parameter of volunteers? Why is that important to them?
Good question. That's a really good question. I think they want an educational component to it. So they encourage you to do it as like part of your Arbor Day or Earth Day events, which is what we did, and they want people to realize the importance of trees and also just a little bit of education on how to plant them, which is what, if you were at the McGaw event, that's kind of what we did. We talked about the mechanics of trees, why we plant bare root trees versus container trees, and just some of the physiology of trees and how you can plant trees successfully. So I think they're going for that educational component, but that is a good question because that is specifically called out in that grant, which is fine. That works out. At any rate, so So that's kind of the long story longer with that one. So we're going for that again. The reason I have this letter of support is there was a grant that I applied for that we did not get, and it was the IRA grant, and I talked to the selection committee just to say like, hey, how can we do things better next time? You know, what do we need to do better at? And they basically said, you know, you need more collaboration, which we do, but it's, I can't really write MOUs and I can't write letters of support in the same way I think that they were looking to get them, especially the time frame. Like that IRA grant, it came out in February, it was due in June, and that's like a super busy time, and it was really, I mean, it was a little bit of a chaotic, you know, getting all that stuff together. So we just didn't, even though I think we would have worked cooperatively with lots of different stakeholders, we really just didn't have time to formalize it, send it to council, get it back, like all of those things we just didn't have the time to do that. So unfortunately, we did not get that grant money. However, so what I'm trying to do is, moving forward, to your point, Linda, is, you know, kind of make grant writing kind of part of our day-to-day operation, and to make these really strong grants, we do need letters of support. So for this grant, they suggest a letter of support from a group like this and or from Park Commission. So we did a joint letter from Linda and Sue talking about like why they support the grant. So I put that in the packet for you guys to take a look at. And I think just moving forward, whenever we write these grants, I'm going to try to make, and it would have been great to get a letter of support from Neighborhood Association, but I didn't really think of that until today when I was talking to the people at GMS. So anyway, so it's just, we just kind of needed to be thinking about that, like just to kind of formalize the collaboration that we already do. I think it's so second nature, we don't really think about it, but we need to kind of make it a little bit more obvious to people reviewing grants so they can check their boxes. Oh yeah, they do have the support of Park Commission, they do have the support of Tree Advisory. You know, we have this formal letter indicating that. They do have the support of the neighborhood's actually going to come out and plant the trees. We have a letter indicating that. Like, they need that actual piece of paper. So this is kind of our first start at getting that, you know, kind of part of our muscle memory.
Is there a place in the grant to also maybe indicate some of the events that you've had with neighborhood associations and
it's pretty small though, and that's a good point. It's a pretty small, like,
you could put dates in those and some of the volunteers.
See, and with the IRA grant, I mean, I thought we had a really strong compelling, and I was like, you know, because they said, what other work have you done? And I was like, they only allow you so many characters, but I filled the whole thing up with the specific, like, this day we did this with this many volunteers, we planted this many trees. Like, I was really,
to me, that's ultimate collaboration. It's not just words, it's action. Yeah.
I know, it's proof in the pudding. But I think they need things like this. Yes, Ann?
I kind of hesitate to bring this up because it sounds very nitpicky.
But
I think it was in that support letter, I saw a couple of typos. And I think that it would be nice to have a more professional look.
Yeah, what are the typos?
The ones that I remember, you had the its and its mistake. And then there was plating instead of planting. And then also, you mentioned the 30% tree cover goal. I find that language confusing because I think I understand now that that's only for city property. But if you say 30, it isn't? Oh, well.
For the whole city.
For the whole city.
For their
well, that's good. Even though, you know, you don't have any control about what private homeowners.
No, we don't, but we try to encourage tree planting.
But you encourage them. Okay, well, that's good, because that's exactly what it suggests to me, is that it's for the whole city.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we can, like, you're right, we can only control, you know, the public property, but we definitely do try and, you know, that's why we have the urban tree guide too, because, you know, if people are wondering what to plant on their private property, you know, we throw that at them. And, you know, one of the ladies that talked to today, I mean, I was talking to her in the context of a volunteer project we were doing, but she was also just talking to me about what to plant to her backyard, and, you know, we went over different opportunities. So, yes, I guess.
Did she give you this copy and just ask you to make those corrections on the paper copy? Would that be
No, I remember looking at it online, or, you know, the packet you sent, and I spotted those two typos.
I will find them and we'll get it changed.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Also, Anna, I don't know if it's ever helpful to also, like, have us bring a resolution to council to be like, the entire council supports this. Again, maybe now that we have a template of sorts, it could be just like whatever the other grant was, we can just replace it with the same verbiage.
Yeah. I think that is a good idea, and like in the, the DNR grant requires it, but it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, like if it's, and if we don't have time, like I'm happy as an alder to write a letter of support. Yeah. So like, I mean, District 4 is like the largest square mileage of Fitchburg. It is. So like, put that on there. So just let us know if we can be helpful that way.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good point, and we need to be doing more of that because it's I mean, it's not that difficult, but we just need to kind of put that together. And I think they actually
timing, to your point too. Like, do we remember to? Yeah.
That's the whole thing, because I think they actually need the letters to check the box, even if they know you're doing it. You know what I mean?
I'm really glad you asked that though. Like that's really smart to follow up and be like, what could we have done better so that we have a better chance?
I was a little heartbroken, so I was just like, and I know the people who reviewed it, so I was just like, hey, and I talked to them in person, so I could really get the body language and everything, and I was just like, hey, just moving forward, like, I'm really glad, thank you for reviewing our application. We're really, grateful for the opportunity to apply. We're just really curious, moving forward, how we would capture these dollars in the future. And it was just like, well, you just didn't score very high in collaboration, even though we knew you probably would have. You just didn't have that formalization that other people had. So I was just like, okay. And also, I think they went at much higher levels. I mean, I haven't seen the funding list yet. I guess it's out, but they went to, like some of the entities that got the money got it, and they're gonna grant from there. They're gonna, they got several $1 million, and then they're gonna do
distributing,
right? Which that wasn't our case. Like we were actually we were gonna use the money to do things here. So
were there other municipalities our size applying for it, and did they get it?
Not that many. So Milwaukee got one.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Milwaukee applied directly to the feds, so they had a different time frame. Other municipalities told me it was too tight of a time frame, they couldn't turn it around, so there were several municipalities that didn't even try. I'm not sure of any municipalities in this area that got it.
Okay.
I know we tried, obviously, because I wrote the grant. I'm not sure how many even tried, because I know in talking to some other municipalities, they said, I couldn't turn it around. I couldn't turn a good enough grant application around in that time frame in the middle of tree planting season, which it was, and get it to what it needed to be and get it submitted.
Is this state funded?
It's a federal funded, but the money came from, and it kept changing. So the feds, it was IRA money that came to Wisconsin, and there was lots of just angst over it for a variety of reasons. And then, so the amount kept changing, and then also like how it was gonna be distributed kept changing. So it was really, I knew it was coming, so I was really trying hard to get us prepped up for it. But it was, when you don't exactly know what they're gonna fund or where they're gonna fund it, it's a little hard to do as much legwork as you'd like. But anyway. Yeah. But I think we put together a decent proposal. I think the project was fine. It's just a matter of getting the finer details and the collaboration more formalized. So anyway, moving forward, that's what we'll do.
I mean, you typically get the grants you apply for, and I think that grant writing in itself is a skill that my guess is that some cities don't have that benefit of having someone in your position who is able to do it at that level.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, we definitely try. I think, and part of it too is just, being willing to like put yourself out there, which we do. So anyway, so that's the long story longer with this particular grant. I think once we get it corrected, we can, approve this letter and get it signed, and I'll get it submitted, and we'll hope for the best. I do think we have a good shot at it, but at any rate.
Wonderful.
Do you guys want to vote on it?
Would you like us to?
That would be awesome.
Okay.
And then we'll wait till she's back.
Probably.
Okay.
A question on the Alliant grant. You said it's because they have customers in this service area. Do the trees have to be planted in their service area, or it can be throughout Fitchburg, is what I understand. I read it as. Oh, great. Yeah. That's great.
Public land in Fitchburg.
Okay.
So, which is nice, because otherwise I think I'd have a really hard time figuring it out.
I know, I was like, how could you do that? Well, it has to be all Fitchburg.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of a nice,
that's very nice.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I'm grateful, it's nice that they have that, that million trees goal, and it's nice that they're willing to, to fund it, so to speak. So that's great. And I think everyone last year most of you did participate in the tree planting project, so that was awesome. So thank you very much. And some of you brought friends, which was awesome.
It was a joy. I'm still, while we're waiting, if I can, I know that when I was there, you were helping me figure out who from the city staff actually helps plant the trees.
Yep.
And I've been having that discussion with other people, and so, but it's, and I was trying to figure out ahead of time. So it's, I mean, it's like one person from Parks and 2 people from Public Works? Is that
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, I figured that out, okay.
Yeah, and they're awesome, but they're just super busy.
I know, yeah, I mean, yes.
They are awesome.
Anyway, at some
that.
point I want to have a little more conversation around that.
Yeah.
With staff and.
Oh, thank you, Sue. I'll get that corrected. Obviously, I have some corrections to do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
She
Thank
caught
you.
them, I didn't catch
Thank you.
them when I
Yeah.
read it myself, so. Good
Awesome.
eye.
It's good to have a couple of wordsmiths in the committee.
It is. Delete comment. I can do that. Okay,
Yeah.
I will get this fixed before you guys sign it.
All right, that's good, yeah. Okay, let's, can I have a motion, or I'll make a motion to approve?
You know what, can I say something?
Yeah,
In Robert's rules,
Yeah.
the chair does not make motions.
okay,
You should say, I will entertain a motion to blah, 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 and then I will say, so move, and then, but you're not supposed to make motions.
okay, thank you.
What are Robert's rules?
I was watching the council and it was like, it didn't, well, anyway, okay,
Okay, that's just.
Thank you.
that's fine.
That's great.
Yeah,
I don't know. I wondered why people would always say, I will entertain a motion.
Yeah, because the chair isn't supposed
I thought it
to.
was just polite.
Yeah.
You're supposed to facilitate.
Okay,
So-
all right.
So you can say no, that you will entertain a motion
All right.
to approve this letter, is that what we're doing?
No, I don't think that needs, I mean, that's on here, I
If you
mean,
want to approve the grant application, that'd be awesome.
that's what I think. I would entertain a
And then I'll
motion
put in
to
there, approved
approve
by
the
tree advisory.
grant application. Yes.
So,
For the million trees.
I move to approve.
second,
All in favor, say aye.
Tara Wendy. Aye.
Okay, the motion passed. All right, thank you. Anything else today?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's just one thing I learned working for the state.
Thank you, thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. Yes, very much. All right, next agenda item is the fall tree planting.
Yay! It's that time of the year, yes, for planting trees. So I'm really excited for our fall tree planting. We're planting 67 trees, mostly in parks. There are some ash replacements, but a lot of this is new parks getting their trees finally, which is awesome. And we have some old parks finally getting their trees. We're finally finishing up Swan Creek, for example, which we should have done a long time ago. And we're finally finishing up some in Chicory Meadows, some in McGaw and McKee. So we've kind of got a trees and shrubs kind of going in everywhere. The reason I put this on the agenda is because look out in McGaw, there is the plan that we talked about. I think it was the 3 of, right? The pollinator planting that we're doing, the turf replacement. So part of this project, which I'm very excited about, is one of the alders put in the ARPA TID closure money budget $10,000 to replace turf with pollinator/native plantings. So we're doing that in McGaw. It's kind of a pilot project. We got the site prepared where we'll be planting the trees in the next couple of weeks, and then we have the seed to put in, the native seed to put between. It's gonna be trees and shrubs, and it's gonna be in that driveway, or there's like a strip of grass between the driveway.
Oh, you brought this to the whole committee
Yep.
a couple of
So you
meetings
guys,
ago,
yes, you guys approved that. So I just want to yes, thank you. So you guys have seen the plan. So it is happening this fall. I know there were some question marks about whether it got, whether we were on track, but it is happening this fall. So if you want to go to McGaw and see that, that would be awesome. And just let us know what you think. So I'm really hoping that can be kind of a pilot for things to come moving forward.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Do you have a tentative date yet?
It's probably the end of September it'll be done.
Yeah.
We got the stakes in today, so Diggers Hotline's doing their thing, so they'll probably start planting next week. Yes.
Speaking of McGaw, is there any plan to move forward with removing the invasives?
I don't know.
So we were asked to wait until the new development planning had been completed. That doesn't look like that's gonna happen real quickly.
Which new
The
development?
Greenfield project.
To remove around McGaw?
No.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay.
But because it involves some of the same neighborhood.
Right.
Backs up against that area, we were asked to wait on that. So I thought that I would begin the process of just talking to some of the residents. And it's not off of our agenda, it's a matter of doing it in a way that we hope is collaborative, so.
You're brave.
Yeah.
I have no reason not to be, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm hoping that if we start talking to people individually, that it will, we can make it more formal, and we can put it on the agenda for next time as an update.
And that excellent point, and what we can do, once we get that pollinator/shrub area planted, that can be an example of like, hey, this is what we're trying to, this could be the screening that everyone gets a little bit worked up about. Like that's an example. I mean, we have examples throughout that park, but that would be a real solid example of, what we're talking about. That's
point
right there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. If the invasives get cleared out, then something else will grow there.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be as bare as it looks at the beginning.
Right.
One thing I'll say, which how the world changes here. When I started here, calorie repair was on our list of things that we could, even though it's invasive farther south, we could plant it in really tough sites because the Wisconsin winters got cold enough that the seedlings didn't survive, blah, blah, blah. Well, that has changed, and calorie repair has now become invasive here. It's going to be listed on our 40 list, and we now have some calorie repair coming up in McGaw. And I'm just like, are you joking? As if we need a new...
Because it's all in that untouched area, it's spreading.
Well, it's actually in the terrace, it's actually where it is on Lacey Road. And I planted it. In the roundabout, because it's a really tough site, and I was like, we'll throw a pear in here and it'll be fine. Well, no, it's not. So anyway, so we'll be removing those trees over time, and it's not, we have 122 of them, so it's not the end of the world, but it's just disappointing because A, we're losing one of our trees, which is fine. We actually stopped planting it a while ago, but we actually stopped planting it in 2018. But at any rate, that's just another invader that's there, so it's just like, oh good. Anyway, I just bring it up because I was, just
fighting invasives is never-ending battle.
Well, right, and in the light of global warming or whatever you want to call what's going on, it's hard to navigate because the rules change, Yeah,
the rules change. And does it continue to get more difficult to establish new trees?
Well,
is that happening?
The other thing I wanted to mention is we are trying some species this year that we haven't. We're trying some dawn redwood. We actually have a dawn redwood in the dog park, but we're trying some dawn redwood in McKee to see how it does as maybe one of our new trees that we can do more. We tried the dog park, it's doing fine, so I'm like, okay, let's try McKee, we'll see, and that's a species that's typically farther south. We'll see if we can get it established and going here. We have a couple in the dog park that are doing well, so we're trying a few there. We're doing some old cypress, we're doing some other, so this fall we're doing a little bit of experimentation with a variety of different trees that we haven't done before, just to see how they're gonna do, and we'll see. I don't know. So anyway, so I just bring it to your attention because it's just kind of an interesting thing happening in forestry. We're dabbling in a little bit more diversity this fall. We're getting some parks planted that really should have had their trees a while ago, and we're doing this pollinator project that you guys already approved and you've seen. That is actually happening this fall, and it will be a nice thing to point to for the in the McGaw process. Like, hey, this is actually what we're talking about. I think part of the problem in the past was people it just looked so green, people couldn't really pick out the forest for the trees, so to speak. Like, it just looked super green, they didn't really realize it was super invasive. And if you have some examples of, hey, like that's super invasive, this is actually what we're trying to do, it kind of creates a contrast where people can kind of see the difference.
Well, it occurs to me that the park in Greenfield has all been cleared of invasives, right? I mean, their neighborhood park. It's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that's.
And we could do more with that, to be honest. But yeah, you're right.
Oh well,
yeah.
I mean, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. But anyway.
So, Are you satisfied with that, Ann? We'll put it on let's put it on next month's agenda as an update for creating a new resolution.
Yeah, I'd like to understand what your timeline is. I mean, to me, it seems like a lot of foot dragging, because after all, we have the
We were asked to wait until the end of summer, early fall, and here we are, so we'd like to take it up again.
Yes.
And it's a political thing. I can't do anything until the resolution's changed.
Right. And that'll be the committee's job, I guess, to try to get past that. Well, and then Nicole's job to write a resolution, correct? Yeah. That's how it works. Is it, or does it have to be Anna?
I think Anna would write the resolution, and then it comes to council.
We have to vote to.
But for that location that we're talking about, is there existing policy that states we cannot clear it out?
Yes. There's
correct.
A resolution.
There was a.
I thought it expired 5 years and we're past the expiration date.
Minimum of 5 years.
It said minimum 5 years.
Bummer.
So it says after 5 years pass, you can come back around, and it's been 6.
So we were told that we have to write a new resolution.
Right. And after 5 years, I think Sue tried to get it, revive it, and then we went in just to take down some hazard trees, and it was an interesting scenario. I thought you dealt with it very, very well. But it was
neighbors or staff?
Neighbors.
Wow, okay.
It was,
How long ago was that?
Take out what? Some hazard trees that were going to fall on one of the neighbors' sheds, and she had wanted us to take those out for years, and we're like, well, we really can't get in there for this resolution, and then
what's going to fall on?
I mean, the resolution says we can't get in there. The resolution says you do not do anything.
Even though it's a hazard,
and even though it's public property.
So it's kind of indirect.
I mean, there's dead ash trees in there. We should be taken out, and we cannot go in there.
So, I think the lady said nicely. I was asking questions, and I've nicely been offered to tour it because I want to see like what.
We should do that before next time.
Yes.
Yeah, when everybody's healed.
And now that I got some cortisone shots in my foot, it's feeling a lot better. That would be.
So we can talk about that today.
Yes.
So there are a couple of things that we are on the calendar.
Let's do that under announcements, I guess, so we don't get in trouble because to be honest, like this gets to be such a touchy issue. If we talk about it outside of an agenda item, we will get completely raked over the coals. Okay. And I'm not kidding. Like this is an army crawl over glass. I don't think people realize that. Like it's literally an army crawl over broken glass to do anything in this park. And that's just a fact. And I don't mean to like be dramatic or anything. It's just true.
I also think we can probably just table it till next time.
Yeah, and that's
put it on the agenda for next time. I think
put it
that's
on
what
the
we
agenda,
should do.
notice it, so if anyone wants to come and talk or
questions
whatever.
and information that we've gathered.
I think that's appropriate.
I think we should do that.
So great.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Report from department. I put it in the packet. I've been collecting a lot of seed. It's been really good seed collecting weather. Sue, you probably have been too. Super dry.
Somebody else in this room doing that. I don't know who that is.
I'm not registered to speak, so.
Okay, fair enough. I'm being too friendly. This is my problem. All right. Anyway, so I've been collecting a lot of seed, which I'm not sure made it into the department report or not. That might be the only thing that's gone.
Yeah,
is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
There's a volunteer report under volunteer.
What kinds are you collecting?
Well, it was a lot of forbs that were ready early, which I was sort of like, we better get here before these are all gone, and now it's grasses. So, and stuff is dry and good to collect, and it's coming. So anyway, so I've been doing that and storing it in the garden.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it is cool. It really is cool. So we have all the seed. We have all the seed that we need for the pollinator project, which is great. I will one thing I will say about McGaw, which is a little bit sad. We do have several. So we are allowed to work in Area 1 in an SC Johnson. We were doing a lot in SC Johnson. Unfortunately, we lost our contractor to suicide recently. So,
Lost the contractor to suicide.
So we haven't. So there was going to be a big seating in SC Johnson this fall. I'll try to kind of.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, get that to happen, but it. So that's a little bit on hold. So we'll see kind of how that all shakes out. I know.
May I ask what it was?
It was Jacob Dram. So, and he did a lot of work for us and all over the city and for years and did awesome. And we really enjoyed working with him. So at any rate, but we will get that seeding done at some point. I just don't want to, I'm just not sure how much, I just want to be sensitive, and I'm not sure when to call and be like, hey, when are we getting our seeding? Because it seems a little rude. Anyway, so at any rate, so that's just to put that out there. Some of the stuff going on out there is on hold just because one of the contractors we were working with really carefully for several years is no longer with us.
Was that recent?
It was 3 weeks ago.
Does the city ever send anything to like family or anything?
I don't know. That's a good question because
I didn't know the answer to that because we've had that question recently.
Yeah.
With somebody else, and they don't unless they're a staff member.
Right, that's true. So then I sent that person stuff.
No, you didn't.
But yeah, so I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, it's just a real sad thing, and it is super sad. I don't know what to say about it. And you know, and unfortunately, it's just, he really was like, hey, you know, on top of it in terms of like, you know, because I had said, hey, these are our goals and objectives, you know, similar to other people we work with. These are our goals, this is what we're trying to do. And he really was good at kind of making, and this is our budget, and he was really good at kind of making things happen and saying like, hey, did you think about this? Like, I felt like we had a really good collaboration with him, and I really enjoyed working with him. And anyway.
But what a great contribution to his community.
Right, absolutely. And he did a lot of work in Harlan Hills as well, and a lot of work in Swan Creek, a lot of work throughout the city. So anyway, yeah.
We could certainly send a letter. We could send a letter to the family.
We could. Yeah, we could, I guess. That's not a bad idea.
If you want like me to send a letter, if you want to give me the address, and I can just say like, hey, the city, thank you for the work and we're sorry for your loss. Or if you wanted to send,
I think saying the nice things like you said there.
Yeah,
you know, I enjoyed
you
working
had more of a
with him.
relationship with him.
Work together and
We did. He
blah
was a
blah
great,
blah. You know,
great
say those
collaborator.
things. I think that'd be nice for the family to
I think so
hear.
too.
Yeah, I mean, super guy. A super guy. So
If you
anyway.
need any help with that, let us know.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, or any other part of that. I'd be happy to go in and explain something to you.
Anyway, so at any rate, so that's the long story longer with that one, but anyway. And the other big thing we're working on was fall tree planting and just trying to figure out, we're trying to spend the last of some park improvement funds that when there's only like a few thousand left, it's really good to plant the trees, and it can be kind of hard to figure all that out. So anyway, that took a lot of time, but we got there, so that's good. Yeah.
I have just a couple questions. So what's the ERG meeting?
Oh yeah, that's the Employee Resource Group.
Okay.
So yeah,
Internal.
Yes, it is internal, and I'm a part of it partly because like when I started here, and this is no bad reflection on anyone, like, you know, everyone had been here for a long time. You know, I was kind of a newbie, which is fine, but like the first day I had to, they needed some deliverables for me. They're like, I had to finish this planting plan that had to get back out the door like that day, which is fine, but I couldn't find my truck, and I was too embarrassed to like ask anyone. It was terrible, so I just took my car, which is really no big deal, but it was just like, it just was kind of like, it was fine, but it was kind of like, I'm like, well, you know, so we try to make, you know, we, offer resources to new employees and things of that nature. It's the Employee Resource Group, and just trying to make sure everyone here is having the best experience that they can in the workplace, and just trying to be a real positive, influence on the work culture, so to speak, and organize potlucks and things of that nature, and try to get awareness around Juneteenth, awareness around Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic awareness, history, all this sort of stuff. So anyway, so it's kind of an interesting thing that I do like to do, and so I put on my reports so people don't think I'm just wasting time.
That's great.
No, that's great, especially with our goal of being a top employer in the area. I think it's super critical that onboarding, I brought up the same thing of I would like a job description of an alder person.
Good.
And similar things like that. So I think ERGs are super important, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And I think it's super important now because the turnover is significant. People used to come here and work for 30 years, and that's not really the case. So we have new people coming in pretty frequently, which is just the way it is. It's not a bad reflection on anything. It's just the fact.
There's
it's just
a lot of competition for good professionals, right?
Right, absolutely. And people also just, for whatever reason, move a lot more I think it's just part of human nature. So we kind of need to be on top of making sure people are feeling welcome and included. Anyway.
Can I just ask you about the spongy moth and just kind of what the situation is like?
Good
I
question.
mean, it's not like emerald ash borer.
No, but
it's a pest that's threatening some of our.
Yeah, so I actually went to a DNR Spongy Moth meeting yesterday. So anyway, so Spongy Moth, you know, we had some really great weather for Spongy Moth too. We had 2 really dry springs in a row, which really got Spongy Moth going again. And we had a hot spot in Greenfield that was kind of like below the radar. It was there, we knew it was there. We didn't really manage it very carefully, even though we kind of watched it. And then it really flared up during the drought last year, which was not awesome. And so we had tons of egg masses. We did oil egg masses last winter. We tried to do a little bit of scraping, but that was really not very effective. And then this summer we were going to do some tree injections, which sort of went okay. So we do still have a lot of Spongy Moth in Greenfield. The thing that happened though was because it started raining this year, which is awesome, the entomophaga fungus that was in the soil that can't really get activated if it's dry. Since it was raining so much, it got activated, and we did have a pretty solid caterpillar die-off in June. And people were upset because there was no caterpillars everywhere, but it was actually good. So I think we'll have, and then that kind of kept happening. So the entomophaga fungus really got going, and I'm hoping it really had an impact. We'll see how many egg masses we have this year. The other thing that we really had a crazy amount of was the wasps.
Of what kind of wasp?
They're an introduced wasp that parasitize the eggs in the egg mass, and they can take out 30% of the eggs apparently, which is significant. Wow. So there were those wasps last year in Magaw, and they're still, in Greenfield, and they're there again, which is awesome. So we do have some of the introduced, DNR or whomever, I think it was Forest Service or DNR, whomever, introduced entomophaga and they introduced the wasps. They're both there. So that's really a good sign. Wow. And the weather has been sort of cooperating. It's dry again now, but so I'm hoping if we egg mass, or if we oil, I've already bought the oil. So hopefully if we can oil again this winter, we can have some more, we can have an impact. But the tough thing is that area used to be sprayed by DNR, or DADCAP, I think DNR. And so they sprayed our park, they sprayed all the private trees. Well, if we were going to spray, which is kind of a big heavy lift for us, we would only be able to spray our park. Most of those trees are privately owned, and they were all hammered, as we all know. So it makes management really tough when, Spongy Moth doesn't care who owns the tree, they just eat the leaves.
Right.
So,
as I understand, oak trees are particularly vulnerable, and oak trees in a cluster.
Yep, which is what we have there. You know what it doesn't like is ash. I'm just like, oh good.
Seriously, I was like, why can't it like ash?
I know.
It does not like ash. I will say though, we do have a bunch of volunteer ash in Greenfield Park, like in that ditch, and I'm just like, you go. Like, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. You hang on. But anyway, and they're too small to get infested, so I'm like, we're not gonna mow you off. Just you hang on. But anyway, so long story longer with Spongy Moth, thank you for asking. It was a little bit bleak there for a while. The weather's cooperating. We're trying to do our interventions, but we don't have the tools we need. We need just aerial spray, and we don't really have that tool. So anyway, it's kind of an interesting.
It seems like aerial spray wouldn't be great in an urban area.
Well, that used to happen.
Like for the rest of us?
Well, the spray block was the Greenfield neighborhood. And because there's quite a few oak trees there, so yeah, the whole thing got sprayed. They do it like at 4 in.the morning, so people aren't really out much, but yeah. But you're right, there is impacts to people, which would make it really hard for us to do. But anyway, so.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
I said a meeting with.
One is a small one, a couple on the Dolly Conservancy, but then the sanitary pipe infrastructure, what was that? What were you inspecting or checking out?
In the cemetery?
The easements and
sanitary.
Sanitary, yeah. So I inspected all the sanitary easements. They needed to be forestry mowed because they hadn't been mowed for quite a while. So
what are they?
They are where we have sanitary pipes under the ground.
Like the land.
Ditch areas or what is?
They're not all ditched. Some of them are, but it's basically where we have sanitary pipe running through the municipality to Nine Springs. And so we have easements through, some through public property, some through private, some through county property where these pipes run, and then it's our responsibility to maintain them. And in theory, we're supposed to be mowing them several times a year.
On top of where they are?
So that we can access, because the idea is that you need to access that emergency. You don't really have time to take trees down or brush out.
To keep major, large things like that out.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and so then it was kind of like, well, and then it got to be a little bit, just because people are really busy and we've got just a lot of people running around, they hadn't been mowed like they traditionally had been, so they really got brushed in. And so I went and inspected them all, and I was like, well, this really is a forestry mow scenario. And that's what ended up happening. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting. And I was aware of some of them, but a lot of them I didn't even know that's where the pipe went.
That's been a lot of years then.
Yeah, so anyway, so it's just, and that's just an example of like, forestry maintenance stuff that we really need to be doing, and so that's, a good question. I kind of forgot about that. And then, was there another question?
The Dolly Conservancy, the Seminole Village condos.
Yeah.
What were you working on with them? What were they wanting?
Yeah,
I think you mentioned it some last time, but there's some more work here.
Yep, good question. So this is kind of ongoing, and with Dolly Conservancy, which just for familiarity is adjacent to Seminole Highway. It's actually on both sides of the highway. One side's prairie, the other side's wooded, and then it backs up to, on the south side, the Seminole Village condos, and on the other side, probably a half a dozen private properties. And so we'd like to get in there and do some restoration work. We have a volunteer who's been doing some work in there. We did have all the trees surveyed, so we kind of know what we want to do, but what the Seminole Village folks asked us is if we could do a buffer of like 20 feet from their line into the Conservancy, we could do kind of screening and that kind of thing. And they were willing to do some of it, so we were kind of trying to come up with a plan. Part of the issue is they don't all agree, and so it's like it can be a little touchy. So I kind of wrote up a plan on how we could kind of create that buffer.
So what were they wanting the buffer for?
Basically, privacy.
So who did they think was going to be in the woods?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, you never know. Just never know who's going to be in the woods.
I don't know.
I would think with more shrubbery, more people could hang out in there than if there wasn't.
Well, see, that's a good point. And the thing is, there is a social trail into the Dolly Conservancy from their property.
From there?
We didn't put it there. I think it's their residents using it.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, this isn't us. Like, we're happy that people are using the Dolly Conservancy. We don't mow a trail in there anymore. We really should. It's kind of a mess in there, which we need to kind of get.
Are they probably walking over to where they can get on the cannonball?
Probably, you're probably right, or something. I mean, like, that's very plausible. Or just going for a walk. I don't, that's very, very plausible. But I think there was a perception that we were putting paths in and all this, which we're not. So anyway, long story longer, we're trying to, it's kind of, it'll be fine, but so I did put together a plan. I need to kind of refine it a little bit. There's a cultural resource aspect to it that I did reach out to University of Milwaukee to try and get some more formalized cultural resource information. It's a little bit expensive to work with them, so we don't have the budget now. We might next year.
Is that because there's some mounds in there?
I don't think there's mounds per se. There's old farmsteads. There's an old farmstead.
In there, really?
Yeah, there is. So we just need to
figure out what to protect or what is worth protecting or not, or
exactly. And what do we just remove?
So why Milwaukee? They're far away.
I know they have a database. They have a cultural resource database that I'm not really sure where the information's come from. When I worked for the state, we went through them, and we've gone through them for the city as well. So So anyway, so it's something. So it's kind of an ongoing thing, and so we get a lot of requests from service from that kind of association. So we're there a lot, talking to them about different things, and anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I'm hoping we can move forward this winter with actually getting some stuff done in that area. So we'll see.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, thanks for the questions. That's good clarification.
There's always something interesting or different on here that I haven't heard about before, and I'm like, what is this?
No, that's good. Well, it is. That's good. That's
very interesting. Yeah, you have a lot of different things that you have to work on that are really, like the whole easement thing and the sewer pipes. Who knew about that?
And across so many different departments, too.
Yeah, and I did not know about that until they showed it to me. I was like, interesting. Yeah. It was an interesting afternoon. I'm like, would never know there's a big sewer pipe here, and it's covered with brush. I think we better first report. So anyway, very interesting. It just kind of, I think, dictates to your point, in terms of forester role and job responsibilities and things we need to be documenting. So anyway.
All right, so announcements.
Look for the tree planter.
I think
we already talked about that. And then it sounds like...
Yeah,
sorry.
We had some discussion about outreach, and
right.
Yeah, we met with Craig a couple days ago and talked about what we might do, and I guess we were talking about seeing if we could get like a quarterly article in the Star.
Awesome.
But aren't there some glitches? Don't we have to, you found out the city used to, the Star used to go everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they
Star doesn't go everywhere in
stopped.
Fitchburg now.
But it's because the city was supposed to pay the Star more to go everywhere, and we said no.
And it sounds like that there's still communication or conversation about that from time to time, but.
What do you mean, like it doesn't go everywhere? Where is it
In the more
everywhere that it
dense
doesn't go?
areas of the city, they are no longer, read low-income areas of the city,
They're no longer what?
they're no longer delivering the Fitchburg Star to every house in the city. And that has been.
They're offering it to some, I get it.
That's the point.
It's
They're
been
not offering
going-
it.
Right, so I'm saying, where is it not going that it
Into
used to
the
go?
areas where there's lots of apartment buildings and stuff like that, which would be where the poor people happen to live too.
So we could do articles with your help.
Jeremy did some really good ones. He did one on oak diversity, which I thought was awesome, and how we only have big oak trees that we kill the little ones, basically, which I thought was awesome. He's like, we'll save a big oak tree, but a smaller, younger, nicer oak tree coming up, we have no problem webbing off. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah, so anyway.
I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically what the article said.
Were we thinking of piggybacking on that thing that the RCC?
So we thought about a couple of
does?
things. So we just thought about trying to do something, because we have a couple of wordsmiths on the committee, and Sue is one of them, and has offered to do this, write an article for the paper. We know that RCC does it like every couple of months, and we thought if we could even do one quarterly, 4 times a year, but that it would be in collaboration with you on as well as other people's ideas, but to target whatever is most seasonal or time sensitive
Like
for
weather
for
sensitive.
community to know, or what?
Weather sensitive,
Like
like drought.
If I can just throw something out there, like Fitchburg Star isn't now the only game in town, like FACTv, like they do a lot of exactly what you're talking about, and they might be very interested in, interviewing people to have on Talking Fitchburg, or, I mean, they really are cued in on communication in general. They did I thought, an excellent video of the McGaw project. I thought that was awesome, that video they put together, and they did that like snip, snap, no problem. So so it might be worth and I can do that, reaching out to FACTv to be like, okay, great, Tree Advisor would like to every quarter or whatever have an informational thing, maybe it goes to Fitchburg Star, but would you also be interested in doing?
And I think actually it could be the same topic for both, but I think both using both the paper and that might be helpful, because actually Scott and I were just talking about this before the meeting. FACTv does incredible segments. I think it's really wonderful. People don't always know it's there.
Yeah.
So, and maybe every time we do an article for the paper, we could tag the internet site online for the same kind of thing, and maybe start getting people using the City of Fitchburg website more, because I think it's just full of wonderful resources that many, many homeowners and renters would really appreciate.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
So the other thing we wondered about is the green.
Are they able to count how many people visit a site so you can track change?
That's a good question. I don't know.
They are able to track that.
That would be nice to do if you have certain pages and stuff to get a starting count of what's average, and then see if we make a difference. Otherwise, it's just hoping.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea.
That's a good, I would imagine, we can ask.
And then the other thing that's already in operation is the Green E newsletter, which I know Phil does.
Oh,
So we were gonna try to find out if they would be interested in getting something occasionally from us that he could include.
Are you the RCC elder, Nicole? No. Okay.
Bill Jetzer is.
Oh, thank you.
The same thing in that, if we got something in the
Absolutely.
Star, right?
Yeah, you don't need 2 different things.
Okay.
Right, no, I think
Reduce,
that's right.
reuse, recycle.
I mean, that's what I was.
Apply that to content, yeah.
Okay. So
that might be a good start.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a great start.
we should.
Should we put that on the agenda next time?
About when this begins.
Is it an agenda item for our next meeting?
Yeah, let's have
We
it.
could, that's a
Let's
good
have an
idea.
agenda
And
item.
we
Like
could
create
set
a
up a schedule maybe,
a
and
content
then,
calendar.
and then talk about the first topic or first
Yeah,
generate some topics. Yeah, good idea.
okay. I was thinking like quarterly, what to do with your trees.
Yeah.
What happens to trees in the fall, what happens, and if you have.
Why do the leaves change color?
Or homeowners, just what they could do and
Absolutely,
how they could help with the terrace trees,
absolutely,
all that stuff.
perfect. Absolutely, I think awesome
It's
ideas.
just an idea so far, but,
I think that'd be great.
okay,
That's super great.
okay.
I was gonna say something.
And also, I have another announcement
Oh, sure.
that, we agreed, there's always this push and pull for people's time and the conflict between mowing and watering trees. And so I'm gonna meet with Scott Endel next week and try and figure out his system. Like, he apparently makes the mowing schedule
Oh,
every year.
well, he does, yeah, he's part of it.
He's part of it, he's not the one that does it.
No, the public works guys do it,
They do the schedule.
for the most part.
Well, then I shouldn't be talking to him. Who should I talk to?
Mark Hodel
Mark Hodel? Okay.
and Jordan, I think.
Well, maybe.
Well,
So what do you
start with
change
Scott.
or
What I want to know is, you set the mowing schedule, and then for 3 months it doesn't rain. Do you still go out and mow over nothing? And if you are, should you maybe not? And then could the people who would normally be mowing, could they help water the trees when it was dry?
See, this is an excellent question, Sue, and I tried to get at this last year when it wasn't raining.
And
I couldn't get much satisfaction, so I think it would be a good thing to work out before the drought. Because during the drought, I think people are a little bit busy and it's hard to change a ship moving in a particular direction. It's hard to change
Yeah.
course.
but do you think I should talk to Mark instead of Scott?
Or
You would
Jordan.
start with Scott. If you already have a appointment with him, don't, I shouldn't be
Okay.
interfering. But yeah, but they're the ones that actually do the physical mowing.
Okay.
What's Mark's last name?
Hodel.
He's the street supervisor, awesome guy.
He's the guy I contacted when the wild
Yes,
parsnip
yes.
was coming up, and he also mows the part beside our house where the sumacs all want to come up.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, we put those sumacs there to begin with.
oh, you did. I
And
won't
now
tell
they
you.
belong to the city, long story, but our lot line was changed.
Yes,
So they probably don't even know that they own those, but they do.
anyway, yeah.
Anyway.
And he got that parsnip mowed lickety split.
Yeah.
Because he asked me, he just asked me, he's like, yeah, is there anything in there we need to avoid? And then I often will go in the morning and listen for birds and make sure we're not mowing birds, and then they mow, so.
Yeah, they did it right away.
So, all right.
All right.
Great, thank you.
So we're gonna talk next week about the articles.
Next month, yep,
So-
about
I mean
the
next month, yeah.
educational outreach,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah,
and
okay,
or whatever you want to call them.
or whatever you
Yeah.
wanna call it.
And then the McGaw, we want that on
Yes.
the October
sounds like
agenda.
McGaw.
Update on the McGaw resolution.
And then, I don't know if we want, one thing I was gonna put under announcements, and I know you had wanted on the agenda, but, it's just budget time, so I thought the budget would be out by now, but it's not, I'm not
We're
sure.
really close to balancing it. There's like a few minor things,
Okay,
but
so,
it should be soon.
yeah, so just be on the lookout for that in the next week and a half, maybe, I don't know.
I hope so. I think
Something
we're
like that.
so close to it.
Yeah, so, there's just a lot of considerations and there's a lot going on, so, so we'll see how that all shakes out. And then I've been working on our Tree City of the World application again, which looks really good. And then also Tree City will do again, and then I'm gonna go for another growth award too, so.
Oh, that's wonderful. So there's another agenda item for next time that I've wondered about. So, we worked so hard on the tree preservation ordinance, and I wondered if we could put that on the agenda just to see operationally what's happening with it.
We're the plans are coming through,
Got it?
it's happening.
would be interesting to know if it's making any kind of difference.
I think it's bringing the trees to the forefront.
And then, you know, is there any path forward to putting any teeth in it or?
That's a political question. Yeah.
Maybe one political question per agenda.
Had many situations come
next.
forward
Yeah,
where
that's
we
a
needed
good,
to
yeah, right.
I don't
trees on properties.
No, not forget
There
it.
hasn't been
It's
many that
probably
you brought here anyway.
There have been
Not
working.
too many. There's most of the preliminary plans have come forward have very few desirable trees on them. There's a few that they either can try to work around or not or what. So it's been interesting, but it's good to see that, hey, that they looked at to see if there were trees and this is what they found. I mean, it's really good to have that information up front.
And I think that throughout that whole process, we kind of got feedback saying that those things that same kind of consideration would be incorporated into more and more into city planning. And I don't know if that's happened or not, or if there's something more awareness that we should be doing again or anything else, but.
I hope so. I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, and just for example, the trees on Lacey Road, now I think if we try to take them down, the oak trees, I think people would really get upset. I mean, I really think so. I mean, and we did spend a fair bit of resources to get those trees saved, and it was a big back and forth, and there was a lot of compromise in that, and the ones that we were able to save, I think now they're such a significant part of that project if we try to touch them. In fact, we did a lot of work with them, plant healthcare work this summer, and they were marked just as indicate, I mean, the contractor just marked them to indicate that they had done some injection work and this sort of thing, and someone did think they were coming down and was really upset. I'm just like, well, we actually did some work on them, and that's the indication that they have some.
That's a great response.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, so I was like, we're actually, trying to preserve them. So at any rate,
They are being protected? They still.
well, yeah, I mean, so we had tree healthcare management, who you're familiar with, go and dig out all the root flares, just so that was, what they needed to be. And since they had so much root pruning, we gave them a variety of injections and treatments just to make sure that they didn't get two-line chestnut borer, that they had the right hormonal balance and all this kind of stuff. And they looked really good this summer. I mean, it rained a lot, which is good,
Yes.
but they looked awesome. So, we'll kind of see what happens, but I think that's going to be a success story moving forward.
That's great.
Yeah. So we'll see. But at any rate, that's part of that culture shift that the TPO, I think, really kind of got. Going.
So we won't put that on the agenda for next time, but let's just think about it and kind of try to just monitor how things are moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always.
So, and our next meeting, I should have this, and
I have it October 10th.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Can I since we were deferring on saying anything about McGaw to announcements, this is just last year you graciously took me through McGaw on a tour.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Do it.
Yeah,
I
would love to adjourn the meeting actually so we can set up that time and coordinate it before we leave.
It is well worth your time.
I mean, I play Ultimate Frisbee there every Tuesday and Thursday, so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to go visit McGaw because it stands out. There's one small wood lot that we're not allowed to clear at this point, but there's incredible restoration that's already occurred in the park that is very beautiful, and the ecosystem is thriving, and the native plants are thriving, and the trees are thriving, and the contrast is dramatic. So
thank you for mentioning that.
That's the contrast.
Mm-hmm. And it just keeps getting better and better.
Yes. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved. Meeting is adjourned at.
Were you the second, Brenda?
Oh,
Were you the
Yes,
second?
she was.
Awesome. When I